Welcome back to all. What about your assignments? I had given assignments in second chapter in geography. I hope all of you have completed your assignments. Okay. In the previous class indicated earth movements, two forces, endogenic forces and exogenic forces. What are the difference between endogenic forces and exogenic forces? The endogenic forces means is that the forces which act in the interior of the earth is known as endogenic forces. And the exogenic forces is that the forces which work on the surface of the earth is known as exogenic forces. As a result of these earth movements, many landforms formed on the surface of the earth. Besides, as a part of earth movement, some regions on the earth crust became upliftment, and some regions on the earth crust became subsidence as a result of this earth movements. Example such as continents, ocean floor and mountains. And the volcanoes and earthquakes are the rapid movements, earth movements. And these rapid movements, it affect more the human beings. Volcanic eruptions and earthquakes are the rapid movement of earth. Okay. Then next is that, next we study about the earthquakes. How earthquakes are formed. You learned that it will happen the movements of lithospheric plates. As a result of the plate movements, the rocks in the interior portions of the earth, it undergo displacement or fault. Displacement means changes of rocks. Okay, and that time severe pressure. That time severe pressure is exerted on the lithospheric earth lithosphere. And then there emerged seismic waves. This seismic waves creates tremors on the surface of the earth. This tremors on the surface of the earth experienced by us as earthquakes. Okay. How earthquake is formed? This earthquake is formed as a result of the displacement of lithospheric plate, and at that time there exerted a severe pressure on the earth lithosphere, and that time will generate seismic waves. And this seismic waves is like the waves in ponds, which are spreading all directions. When it falls a heavy materials in it. Okay. And then these waves, seismic waves, it create tremors on the surface of the earth, and these tremors of the surface of the earth experienced by us as earthquakes. Thus, earthquake is formed. Then next is that what are the causes, what are the reasons, causes of occurring of earthquakes. Then here given two reasons. First is that the destruction of mines, and next is that pressure in reservoirs, and third point is that volcanic eruptions. Reasons of the occurring of earthquakes. Then next is that the difference between focus and epicenter. What is the difference between focus and epicenter? Focus is that the deep point inside the earth where the earthquakes happens is known as focus. The deep point inside the earth, interior of the earth, where the earthquake happens, that place, that point is known as focus. Then next is that epicenter. The point, epicenter is that the point vertically above the focus on the surface of the earth is known as epicenter. It is the difference between focus and epicenter. Then next is that three waves, primary waves, secondary waves, and surface waves. Three types of waves. The three type of waves formed from the focus. These are the primary, secondary, and surface waves. Among these three waves, surface waves are very destructive. And the instrument is known as seismograph. And this seismograph, these seismic waves as recorded by the instrument is known as seismograph. This seismograph, it recorded the seismic waves. And a Richter scale. What is known as Richter scale? Richter scale measured. This measures the intensity of energy released during earthquakes. This instrument, this is known as a Richter scale, and it measures the intensity of energy occurring during the earthquakes. And it is calculated that the earthquake happened in Chile. It is the very destructive, and it is very severe, and the intensity of it is recorded that intensity 9.5 Richter scale recorded in Chile. Okay, then all of you some look at some pictures and tables related to earthquakes. Okay. Next is that tsunami. Have you heard about the word tsunami? And tsunami, it is a Japanese term. The word tsunami, it is a Japanese term which means harbor waves. And when earthquake happen, how tsunami is formed? When earthquake happen in ocean floor, it will create the formation of giant waves, and these waves, giant waves, it rises high meters. It is known as tsunami. It is formed as a result of the earthquake happen in the ocean floor. It will happen the formation of giant waves, and these waves it rises several meters high, and it is known as tsunamis. And it is a Japanese word. It is mean that harbor waves. Okay. Then next is that volcanoes. How volcanoes formed? You learned that, you studied that at the time of volcanic eruptions, the molten materials it rises from the asthenosphere, and it comes through the fissures of the earth and reaches on the surface of the earth. And then the here 80 percentage of volcanoes, it is situated around the Pacific Ocean. 80% of the volcanoes, it is situated around the Pacific Oceans, and it is calculated that more than 452 volcanoes is there. So this zones is known as Pacific Ring of Fire. Why this zone is known as Pacific Ring of Fire? Because nearly here 80% of volcanoes situated in Pacific Ocean, and it is calculated then that more than 452 volcanoes containing in this zone. That is why this zone is here is known as Pacific Ring of Fire. Then last we study about the uses of this volcanoes. What are the, how the uses they are useful to, volcanoes are useful to man. First is that first merits, first is that the soil formed by the weathering of rocks or lavas. Then during that volcanic eruptions, this molten materials it reaching on the surface of the earth, and this molten material became solidifies and became the form, and then formed the rocks, lava rocks. And this soil formed by the weathering of lava rocks, it became very fertile. For example, the black soil of the Deccan plateaus. It is the first usefulness. Then second is that the geysers formed as a result of this volcanic eruptions, and geysers formed in many volcanic regions. Example, Old Faithful Geyser. And third is that, and this ash, volcanic ash, it is a good manner. Manner is that these are the, thus they are useful to man, volcanoes. Okay. In this chapter, today we studied the earth movements and the earthquakes, how earthquakes is formed, and the reasons, causes of earthquakes, and then study about the difference between focus and epicenter. And next is that the waves, 3 types of waves produced in focus, 3 types of waves, primary, secondary and surface waves. Then next is that tsunami, how tsunami is formed. Then next is that the formation, how volcanoes formed, and the what is known as Pacific Ring of Fire. And lastly, we discussed the uses of volcanoes. Uses of this process, volcanoes, the volcanic eruptions. Okay. Then questions in this chapter. All of you write the questions in the chapter. Okay, write the first question. Answer question. Answer the write question. Answer the following questions. Answer the following questions based on earthquakes. Answer the following questions based on earthquakes. First question. How are earthquakes formed? How are earthquakes formed? Second question. Which are the different types of seismic waves? Which are the different type of seismic waves? You have to write 3 waves, primary, secondary and surface waves. Third question, which seismic wave causes maximum destruction on the earth surface? Which seismic wave causes maximum destruction on the earth surface? Which waves cause it, the destruction on the earth surface? Primary waves, secondary waves or surface waves? Which waves? Surface waves. Then next is that on what scale are earthquake measured? On what scale are earthquake measured? It is the name of the scale, Richter scale. And it is calculated that the earthquake happened in Chile. It is more destructive earthquakes. 9.5. It is calculated that 9.5 Richter scale intensity of the earthquake happened in Chile. Okay. Next question. does the term the Pacific Ring of Fire? What does the term the Pacific Ring of Fire mean? Pacific Ring of Fire. Here volcanoes, 80% of volcanoes can see here. Then 452 volcanoes is located in these zones. Then next is that explain the various instances where volcanoes are useful to man. Explain the various instances where volcanoes are useful to man. Then here how many? Here given 3 points. The soil is very fertile. This soil formed as a result of weathering of lava rocks. It is very fertile, and the ash formed from these volcanoes is very minor, and geysers formed as a result of these volcanic eruptions. Okay. Then all of you, you should complete your assignments. And now I have completed 2 chapters in geography, 2 chapters in history, and 2 chapters in geography. You should complete your all question answers in 4 chapters. You should complete. Okay. Thank you all.